I'm Rob Southwick, founder of Southwick Associates. We've been doing this for about almost 35 years now. We have a lot of trends and research numbers we want to share with you. I'm presenting today on behalf of our lead economist at Southwick Associates, Ben Scuderi, who couldn't make it the last moment. So I'm kind of a fill-in at this point too. But we'll get through it nice and easy and well. And I'll introduce, to start the actual sharing, is my co-partner in crime and data presentation, Stephanie Vatalaro. Stephanie, please.
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, good. Stephanie Vatalaro, I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Communications at the Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation. That's a lot of words, and that probably means nothing to you. But we exist as the industry's marketing and communications arm. We go into work every day to achieve our mission of getting more customers for your business. We're bringing newcomers in and trying to make them those lifelong customers that are going to be buying tackle, going on charters, and contributing to conservation. So that's what we do. We do a lot of research in the pursuit of that. Some of the things that Rob and I are going to cover today include the latest participation trends. We just released a report yesterday. I'm going to give you some data from that. Rob's going to talk a little bit about tackle sales and what we see going on in the market right now. We have some angler insights for you, some predictions, and some resources that when you get back home, you can look them up, use them to grow your own business. So moving on to participation trends, every year we conduct a study called the Special Report on Fishing. And much to our surprise, fishing participation was up this year, almost as high as 2020 COVID levels, which we all had that huge influx, right? You're going to hear some interesting, I don't want to say conflicting data, but the reason we were surprised is because tackle sales were showing a decrease. Fishing license sales were showing a decrease. So why did we get this influx of participation? Some of the data might give us some insights around that, and I'll talk about it as we move forward. But we always love an upward trend. Fishing license sales were up. The latest data we have there is for 2021. So you can see both with fishing participation and both with license sales, we've got that nice long upward trend. Us being responsible for growing the sport for future generations, we look a lot at trying to diversify our participant base, right? Bringing in those newcomers, the multicultural audiences, the youth, Hispanic, females, African American. All of those segments posted gains this year, which we were very happy to see. Youth went up 2.7%, female up 2.1%, Hispanics 5.1 million. That's an all-time high for that segment since we've been tracking. And African American, or the black population, up 8.2% over 2021. Some more good news, we brought in more newcomers this past year than the previous year, topping 4.1 million. We also had 2 million more people return to fishing. I don't know if you remember me standing up here last year, if you were here last year, talking about our leaky bucket and churn. We're bringing in millions, but we're losing even more. This year we managed to bring back 2 million more people, which is fantastic. But attrition is still a big issue for our activity. If you look at the historicals, yeah, we got 2 million more back, but look at that long-term trend. If we could even get back to the 2015, 16, 17 numbers, or 4 or 5 million, think about how many more customers that is. How many more people purchasing from your businesses. Another kind of interesting trend that we're seeing is that outings are down overall. So we have more anglers, but they're going less. They're getting out on the water less. And nearly 7 in 10 went fishing 1 to 11 times, less than once a month. Participation among our most frequent participants, people who go a week or more, has gradually declined since 2007. And just 6% fished 52 times or more, which is down from 9% in 2007. With that participation highlights, I'm going to turn it over to Rob for tackle sales.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm gonna share some of these numbers here, but I want to give you kind of the insights behind what these numbers mean to the trade. Some of it will be speculative, and I'll tell you when that is. Otherwise, what we have here are based on the actual numbers, different sources of research, and as Stephanie mentioned, we'll share those sources with you at the end, so you can do your own monitoring during the course of the year if you wish. What we're seeing right now, of course, is I call the last of the echoes of what happened back in 2020 and 2021. So let's look briefly at what happened back then, because it explains better what we're seeing now. Everybody knows what happened in 2020. People stopped doing their usual activities, and many of them went fishing. They went fishing more often, which really drove up tackle sales. It was a great time to be retailing tackle. I mean, it's stressful. A lot of times you had empty pegs, you couldn't get new product in there, and people were buying everything, but still the bottom line, the P&Ls at the end of the year were really, really strong. In 2020, things were selling. Even product that normally didn't sell was cleared out, which is really nice. So we had record high sales at that point in 2020 and through 2021. It was good. The experience was a little bit different across the country. We know the larger retailers did a little bit better. These are numbers that we've seen from Circana, used to be NPD Group, and also in the quarterly surveys, we track sales by retail channel at Southwick Associates. And we saw the increase at the mass merchants especially, and that made sense because we had a large influx of new customers, and that's where they were already comfortable. Those were stores they already went to. So the increase also happened at independent retail, but not to the degree it happened at the larger, like Walmart, even Bass Pro, places where our newcomers were already comfortable in visiting. There's some big price increases at that time. We've seen different numbers. I just saw some from Circana just before we presented here, showing like 34% increase. And Julia Day back here, she can raise her hand. She can give you more details if you want later, but they documented a 34% increase in prices during that time period. That's more the larger stores with the POS data, and we saw it at the independent retail, similar, usually in the 20s range, like 25% increase in prices during that time period. And it's sticking. I'm going to get ahead of myself here, but those price increases are holding. But going into 2021, when things started going back to normal, we started seeing a retreat in fishing participation. We saw it in license sales and number of trips per year or outings, as Stephanie had mentioned. So going to 2022 is kind of that shoulder, is getting more back to normal, if you will, but not fully. We saw license sales starting to take a pretty strong drop in 2022, and by end of 2022, they're almost down to pre-pandemic levels, the number of licenses sold, which does not mean it's a perfect correlation to tackle sales. Someone buys a license, it means, they went at least once, but what really drives sales, especially in consumables, fish and line, sinkers, lures, bait, is the frequency of fishing. So the number of trips is a key indicator of what's happening within the trade. So we saw a lot of the tackle sales were declining, unit sales were down. That's been very clear in all the sources that we're looking at, but the increase in prices often offset this. In a few categories, we saw greater revenues with fewer units, which is a good and bad thing. And fewer units means there's fewer people out there using the product, fewer replacements down the road and buying other tackle, but also means higher margins, so some more profitability on the business side. So it's one of those, like a sweet tart. It is sweet and it ain't. That's a bad analogy. All right, and then the retail inventories, because we know what happened in 2020, couldn't get containers in overseas, a lot of backed up orders that came pouring in starting late 21 into 22. And so a lot of these inventories are still out there now. I'll come back to that in a minute. But the sudden influx of inventory coming in has put a crimp at the wholesale, the manufacturer level of our industry. Retailers faring a little bit better, but in 2022 we started seeing some softness at wholesale. So the manufacturers were not doing as well as the rest of the industry might have been seeing. So going into 2023, what's happening right now? We really don't have that many sources of instant information about what's happening on the trade this year. We know, according to Circana, the POS data, that sales are down for the year ending of May, they're down 2% for about a 12-month period. But so far this year, it's only been down about maybe 0.1%. So the bigger declines were happening back in late 2022. It looks like we're seeing some stabilizing going on within tackle sales. We saw that decline as things went back to normal. People started going back to their old activities, started going back, not fishing as much as they were. It looks like we're kind of leveling out now to where things were at the pre-pandemic level. So that's pretty strong. We do have some other insights into anglers, qualitative questions we add to our questioning to get a better view of what's happening with our consumers. We know from the first part of this year, anglers are telling us that some of the reasons why they're not fishing as much as they were. 21 and 22, it was people going back to what they were doing before. So far this year, there's a lot of uncertainty about the economy. And it's kind of conflicting in a sense because unemployment is still at record low levels. In the past, we've seen recessions, we've seen fishing participation go up. People have more time on their hands. They're not unemployed, but they're not working overtime. So here we are in a situation where they're busy and they should be out there spending money on tackle, but they're not because they keep hearing in the media about more concerns that a recession might be coming, which I don't think so. We've been hearing that for over a year now. It hasn't happened. There's still a lot of money out there, but inflation is a concern. People they're worrying, hey, I've got to pay my mortgage. It's going up. Things are more costly. So they are cutting back. Doesn't mean they're cutting back on their fishing activity because of these reasons. They're cutting back on their activity because they're working more, but they're spending less because they're uncertain about their income and what's to come down the road. So people want stability just like companies, and they feel stable and comfortable, they'll spend more money. So that's what they're telling us right now, what's happening with their spending. Intriguing is that after years and years of seeing steady increases in the percentage of sales occurring online, we're actually seeing a little dip right now. So about 80% of all anglers tell us they either do some shopping online, not all of it, but some of it, or they do their research online. Well, of that group, about 2/3 of them say they're doing less than they were at this time last year, and only about 20% say they're doing more. I'm really not sure about that. I only can speculate about why they're doing that. Maybe they just want to see the product in their hand, they want to get back out more often. I am not sure. But this at least is a stronger number for the independent retailers about what's going on there. I'll turn it back to Stephanie for some more insights from the RBFF.
Thank you, Rob. And to really quick loop back to something you were talking about around tackle sales kind of softening or coming back down. One thing we're looking into with the data is perhaps because we did retain such a large group this year of those 2 million folks, they already had their tackle. They're not going back out and buying all new stuff this year. That could be one of the contributing factors. A couple of other angler insights coming out of the special report on fishing, which you all have the blue infographic in front of you, is from that report. And if you want to dive deeper into that, just scan that QR code and you will have more data than you ever asked for. But seriously, it's really good stuff. These are just some highlights from that data. These are opportunities for your business, opportunities to connect with anglers. These are things you can act on. You want more folks to come in your doors, you want more sales. Know that families fish more. People with children fish more than those who don't have children. Highlight nature as a benefit. More than half of all fishing participants cite being in nature as a benefit of fishing. This is particularly true with the female audience. You want to attract more women into your business. Their number one reason for going fishing is to spend time with family and friends. Number two is being in nature. Men, number one is catching fish. It's a little more competitive, I think. 81% of fishing participants participate in other outdoor activities. So think about partnering up with other groups around hiking, camping, biking. Those folks will often start fishing at a higher rate or a quicker rate than other people who don't do outdoor activities. And also fishing, for most of our participants, 75%, it's a group activity. This is not a single person going out and having this peaceful day on the water. It's usually 2 to 5 people. So portray that in your advertising, portray that in your outreach. This kind of touches a little bit on what Rob was speaking also. It's just a different take on it from our special report on fishing. We want to remove those barriers to participation to help people feel more comfortable to get out on the water and go fishing and boating. And these are kind of the top ones that come out of our special report. The reasons people stop fishing, it's boring, okay? They lost interest, they didn't catch anything, they didn't enjoy it. You can read down that list. It's a pretty similar list every year. Those obstacles to enjoyment are opportunities for you. You can act on this. Okay, they think it's boring, then look at this number one. Help them with local information. Tell them where to go fishing. Tell them what tackle to use. Ask them if they have their fishing license. These are things that are going to make their experience better and make them come back to you over and over again as a client or customer. Other obstacles to enjoyment, anglers are looking for easier or more affordable access to fishing equipment. Not everybody that comes into your shop is going to want the, $2,000 saltwater reel. Your newcomers are going to want something affordable to dip a toe in the water and get started. They want easier and more affordable access to boats, comprehensive mobile guides that you can access on the water, lessons and information from a state agency or local guide. That's a fantastic partnership opportunity. Work with your state to make sure that people who are buying tackle from you understand the rules and regulations and they have their license. Again, that makes for a successful day on the water. They need how-tos and tutorial videos. Take Me Fishing has 1 million and they're not branded. You can use them in any of your channels. And then resources and information on voice-activated devices. That one's sort of perplexing to me, but I get it. Rob will have the bulk of the prediction information, but we do have a survey question in our special report that touches on this. And we're always pleased to see, 99% of people surveyed said they do plan to fish in 2023. Now, whether or not that actually happens, we'll find out towards the end of the year. 42% are planning around 8 to 20 outings, and 26% are planning 20 or more outings in 2023. I'm going to kick it back over to Rob for his predictions.
All right. I'm an economist by training, so everybody's always asking, what's going to happen next? What's the future hold for us? So I want to give you the first big warning about any kind of predictions. Most of them are wrong. No one can really predict what humans are going to do. If economists could predict the future, I would not be standing right here. I'd be on my little private island down in the Bahamas somewhere saying, see y'all. It's hard to predict how people will respond to stimuli and what happens in the economy. But that said, looking at the consumer side, this would affect more retail sales. What do we think will happen the rest of this year and going into next year? So assuming nothing absolutely crazy happens, like another pandemic, we think that fishing already is now back to 2019 levels. So the growth trends you saw going in, say 2017 to 2019, you see good trend information from the RBFS special report. We think we're back to 2019. We should start continuing on that growth trend, especially fueled by the influx of new anglers, women, Hispanics, blacks, that Stephanie was speaking to. That, to me, is number one thing we have to look at in this industry at the retail side, because those customers are typically not like your store clerks. They're coming into the store, sometimes a little different view of what fishing is all about. They're the ones that are going to bring in more new anglers themselves, their friends. They're going to go out with larger groups of people. Those are your growth areas. And so long as we as an industry can harness this growth and help foster it, understand what they're looking for in that fishing experience, the better off we're going to be, the better off our retail sales will be. So we really need to watch these categories closely. We know that people are saying they're hesitating on spending more money and going out as much because of concerns about fuel prices, inflation, not so much interest rate concerns with the consumer, but it still does weigh on them with all the other noise. But it seems to be stabilizing at this point. We know inflation is not as crazy as it was 6 months ago. It's still there, but people are getting used to it. They're going to hear about it going back down. People are getting comfortable with the situation. I think that's going to, the concerns we saw earlier this year are going to be diminished a little bit. Employment remains very strong. This is the headwind, if you will. As mentioned before, if unemployment does start increasing a little bit, we'll see more of our customers having time to fish more often. So the number of trips or outings per year could start increasing at that point, and you'll see increases in sales, especially in your consumable items. So what's that unemployment rate? If it stays really low where it is, it's still going to help keep our fishing activity down. I kind of got ahead of myself right there. So we think fishing participation will remain steady and start seeing slight increases through 2024, barring no sudden changes and shocks to the economy or the political environment and so forth. People like stability. Now, looking at the manufacturing wholesale side, it's different. It often has different experiences. Inventories are now starting to get back to normal levels at the retail side. Orders should be starting to go back up in a little bit. We know that I'm getting ahead of myself again. Imports are actually down from where they were in 21, 22, but it's hard to compare to the imports of those years because those were a lot of backed up inventory, a lot of imports. In 21, 22, there's a bunch of product coming in that should have come in a year earlier. So imports are artificially high. That's going down right now, but that's also going to help keep our inventories down lower, which will foster more ordering even from the factories back overseas. So we think if you're in the manufacturing level, the wholesale level, things will start to improve better and you'll see more growth than we'll see at retail level, but they're starting off at a lower point. The big unknown there is interest rates. That really does affect manufacturing a lot more because all that product they have to buy in advance and pay for before it is sold to retail. That will hurt profitability, and some of those costs might be passed on, seeing how price increases have been sticking. So interest rates will be a concern at the manufacturing level. So we think we'll start seeing more rapid growth, if you will, at the manufacturing level over the next year than we'll see at the retail level. But again, they're starting at a lower point. So it should be a little bit better if you're in the manufacturing, the shipping point. With interest rates higher, though, you expect a lot of retailers, especially the larger retailers, mid-sized retailers, to ask for better terms. They want just-in-time shipping. They want to pay for it when they receive it, or they want terms to pay it back 90 days, 100 days later after receipt. So probably more pressure in those areas. Kind of starting to wrap it up here. If you're into numbers and you want to track it some on your own, resources that we have available. First of all, I want to share with you is the resources available to ASA members. At Southwick Associates, we work closely with ASA. We handle much of the data and statistics research and tracking on behalf of ASA, have done that for about 30 years. It's been an important part of our company over the years. Here's the website, take a picture, and I'll tell you I had the whole slide up there if you want to take a picture of all the sources at one time. But you can go to this website, receive a lot of the information, and more will be coming later for ASA members. The first report I want to mention is the market size report. It shows the overall size of each of the major fishing tackle categories at the national level, so you can see which categories are growing more, which ones are larger compared to others. This report is free. Contact Rob Russell at ASA. His email address is up there. If you're not an ASA member, Southwick Associates, we sell this report. You can contact Nancy Bacon. Nancy's in the back of the room right there, raising her hand so that she can help you with this and other resources we have available. Actually, before I go there, if you're not an ASA member, just buying that report alone is worth the cost of being an ASA member, especially at the retailer level. We also have a Fish and Tackle, the retailer report for the independent size of the market. This is an annual survey that we put out tracking what the trends are for independent retailers. Are their sales up or down? How's it going by category? The changing face of the consumer at the independent retail level. It's very interesting if you're a retailer to compare your business to this report. If you haven't received this survey when it goes out every year, take it when it comes out next year, because then you have your own answers right in front of you. You can record and you can compare that to the national averages. It'll show you growth opportunities or areas where you might be able to strengthen the profitability of your business. ASA will also produce quarterly imports, so you can track what the demands are for product coming in different categories and even from which countries are coming in from. We also have, if you're on the government affairs side, economic information and loads of this coming out next year. You'll hear more about that within the industry media when it comes out. At Southwick Associates, our business is helping individual companies know what's going on in the market, know what their customers want, have a better sense of what products will sell better than others. We're available for custom research. We do have some reports available. We have our quarterly survey we provide on where people are shopping, that is what brands they're buying, what percentage of sales are going to which retail points, average pricing, information about what types of fishing species are pursuing, and more. We also have a report available on where people go for information. It's kind of like a Nielsen report for our industry. It shows which websites, television shows, magazines, podcasts, other sources where anglers go for information. And then custom research is the core of what we do. And then I do want to point out, for years and years, our industry has wanted POS data. And that's now finally available, and you can contact Julia at Circana. I pointed out earlier in the back. This is her contact information. So you can take a picture of this slide here if you want for the contact information. I'll hush for a second. I'll jump back to the other slide too. I'm sorry, I was supposed to tell you when it's time to take a picture. Get ahead of myself. When I see the phones go down, I'll flip back. All right, I'm gonna jump backwards. Yay. Okay, you want to take a picture of that one right there for the ASA website? All right. And turn it back over to Stephanie to bring it home.
Bring it home. RBFF has a multitude of resources that your businesses can use as well. Given we are a nonprofit and we are here to serve the industry, everything is 100% free to you. I wanted to loop back really quick. Thank you for that plug on the multicultural audiences and being welcoming of those in your stores. In that special report on fishing, again, that blue infographic, there are sections on those individual audiences where you can really get that deep dive on how they are participating in fishing today, what their motivations are, barriers, etc. So I encourage you to check that out. We have a lot of research. We have marketing materials, photo libraries. Who doesn't need photos? Nobody. Content, how-to videos, and blogs, all 100% free to you that you can use in your own social media channels or communication channels. So I encourage you to check those out. And with that, I'll just throw our contact information up on the screen.